Hello, this is Professor Bustillo-Booth, and in this video, I will go over the major concepts of a marketing strategy. Now, marketing itself is a very large topic, so this video will not be able to go into each and every single one of the different marketing strategy elements, but by the end of the video, you should get a pretty good sense of what a marketing strategy is. All right, let's go ahead and get started. In this video, I will go over some definitions and then quickly go through a marketing history, and then discuss elements of a marketing strategy. A market is a group of people who have a want or need, and this can also be a set of wants and needs, who also have the purchasing authority and ability to spend money on goods, services, and ideas. Marketing, according to the American Marketing Association, is defined as the activity, set of institutions and processes for creating, communicating, delivering, and exchanging offerings that have value for customers, clients, partners, and society at large. A shorter definition of marketing is that of creating, communicating, and capturing value. In many ways, marketing is nearly as old as there have been people trying to exchange goods. I'm sure you've seen images from your books or movies about ancient places like Greece or Rome or China, where there are busy markets and traders using their persuasive skills to have customers buy their goods, right? And these traders probably wouldn't have used the term marketing to describe what they were doing, but the idea of exchange really is at the heart of marketing. Well, that was then during the pre-industrial revolution where, and we will call that the simple trade era, where people made handmade goods and they were using their oral, mostly oral persuasive skills to try to get folks to exchange their goods. Our modern concept of marketing really started during the Industrial Revolution of the 18th and 19th century. And this really began in England, and that was really called the production orientation. And what that meant was that because of the rapid social change, largely driven by technological and scientific innovation, what happened was that the production of the goods was largely separated from the way consumers, access them and how they were consumed. So that mass production, because there was a lot of it being done and the goal was to get it to as many customers as possible, there needed to be the development of a transportation infrastructure, and a lot of what we would call marketing concern at the time was how to manage the distribution of those goods. Well, when these came to the United States in the 1860s, that was also our concern, was that we were making a lot of these goods, right? Because one, they were generally scarce. The goods themselves were generally scarce, and the producers, the manufacturers could sell as many of them as they could produce, as long as people could afford them. And so their focus here too in the United States was how to distribute those goods at the lowest possible cost so that they could then enter new markets and sell as many goods and of course make as much money as possible. Well, by the 1920s and 50s, there were so much of these goods in the market that competition grew. And so the focus of marketing then turned into selling. And so we call that time sales orientation. And so the marketing efforts then were on communicating and advertising and branding in a way that would help the company sell their goods. Even though they were still producing a lot of goods, as many vacuum cleaners and washing machines and the like, they really turn their attention to convince the customer to buy their particular goods. So that's why it's called the sales orientation, and to differentiate really their product from another. Now, during the 1960s and 90s, the markets, even though they were the same size, became increasingly saturated. And so this gave rise to what we understand today as our marketing department. Main focus there within the organization was not only should we produce this particular product, but where should it be sold and how much should they charge for it. So that's, pricing consideration, and then how you would then communicate the value of this particular product to the customer. And so this is when modern marketers started doing market research to understand what customers' wants and needs are, and then to really allocate funding within that department called the marketing department so that they could do their work. And increasingly, marketers there were interested in the branding aspect of the company. And what that means is that, the particular kind of message about what the company is about, or its character or set of values and what it stands for, that sort of thing. So today, the 1990s and present, this has continued to evolve, particularly because we now have many more technological tools to help us understand how customers access information about the product, where they actually engage. Product information is not necessarily on newspapers, right? There are many ways that a customer can learn about a product, and including reviews that, like Yelp and Google reviews and the like, that we now have what's called customer-centric orientation. And that's really paying attention to how the product is consumed by the customer, what they expect it to be like, and it is really, really quite dynamic. Before we go into the marketing strategy concepts, let's talk about what the role of marketing really is. Marketing is one of the business functions within a company. Operations is a business function within which HR, human relations, resides. And then there's marketing and there's financing. Marketing provides revenue to sustain a firm. And whereas the other functions will spend the money, marketing's central function is to bring in revenue. In the creation of marketing efforts, there are at least two things it needs to be able to establish and sustain. One is that of trust, and then relationships, because those two elements really has a lot to say about the long-term viability of a business. Let's also further clarify marketing in terms of what it is not. It is not manipulating customers to get them to buy products or services they do not want. All right. It is not just selling or advertising. A lot of people think that that's what marketing is. It is an aspect of marketing, or two aspects of marketing, but it is not the only thing about marketing. It is a systemic approach to satisfying customers. And at the heart of marketing, as we have discussed earlier, is this idea of exchange. During the simple trade era, the notion of exchange was pretty straightforward. I have watermelons. I'd like you to have my watermelons. And what do you have to exchange for that? That could have been another good. It could have been some kind of currency. Today, what is being exchanged is far more complicated. So for example, in Starbucks, they sell coffee, of course, but they sell more than just coffee. And you can say, well, yeah, they serve tea and also snacks, but they're also really exchanging an experience for your currency, for your funds, right? So they're providing you an atmosphere where you can go ahead and relax and enjoy your coffee and spend time with friends or study or have access to Wi-Fi, a place for you to be able to relax and enjoy your cup of coffee. They're not just exchanging coffee or a drink. Here is an advertising from Bobbi Brown, which is a high-end cosmetic company. And you can see from their advertising here they're saying from coffee cocktails without smudging, and they're trying to have you buy their long wear eye pencil or to long wear mascara, but they're really exchanging something else. It's not really the eye pencil or the mascara they're exchanging for your limited funds. It is the idea that you can be more glamorous, right? More attractive, a better version of you in a natural way. So their exchange there is not just product, it is also an image, a sense of self, a projection of who you think you'd like to be by wearing their eye pencil or their mascara. Here is an image of a Tesla um, electric car, and the market retail price for this is probably in $80,000 depending on your package. And it's a beautiful car. It's an innovative car, and it is also exchanging the notion of being part of the future where we are no longer dependent on fossil fuels. And it also has a message of sustainability, right? So they're not just exchanging a car, a beautiful car, a high-end car for your money. They really are trying to sell a lifestyle and a belief system. You, of course, are in school and you're looking for value in your education. You are coming in here and taking classes, you are looking for certain benefits, whether those benefits are not tangible, you can't put your arms around them, they are future driven, right? You're trying to get skills and knowledge so that you can be better off in the future. But those have costs, right? That you have to, there's tuition costs, there are book costs, there's time costs, there are costs in terms of the kinds of impact and sacrifice that your family, your friends would have to bear with you in order for you to get this education. But at the end of the day, you are looking for value, that you are going to be able to move forward in your life and have choices, right? And so you really are exchanging this time and the money that you're putting forth for this education because you expect that the value in the future is going to be much bigger than the costs. In order to deliver on that value, the marketing concept then has to satisfy the customer's wants and needs through coordinated activities that largely occur in the background. So by the time you pick up the salad ingredients for your meal that night, a lot of things will have had occurred before you got there. And those things will have had to be thoughtfully considered so that you would then reach out for that salad piece and say, that's what I want, and that's what I need tonight in order to make my salad. The coordinated activities are a result of a marketing strategy. And a marketing strategy has 5 steps, and these are broken up into 3 larger phases. So the first phase is that of planning. And in that stage, a company will need to define its marketing objective. Is it trying to increase sales by a certain percentage by a certain time? Is it trying to enter a particular market by a certain time? Is it trying to increase its market share by a certain percentage or number of customers by a certain time? Within that planning phase, a company would also need to do what's called a situation analysis. And you may have heard it called SWOT. And the SW is really the internal analysis of the company's strengths and weaknesses, the things that it does not do well yet, as well as the things it does do well. Okay. And then the OT stands for opportunities and threats. And this is an external analysis of the opportunities within the market and the threats within the market. So it's very important to understand what a company may be getting itself into. The second phase is that of implementation. And this is about targeting, understanding the larger market and doing a segmentation of that market so that it can be positioned to succeed there. And step 4 is that of developing and implementing what's called the marketing mix. The marketing mix is also called the 4 Ps, and the 4 Ps are product, price, place, and promotion. I'll go over this in a little bit more detail. And the last step is that of what's called a control phase, and that is measuring to what degree the objective itself was achieved. And that's really fairly important. Let me now go back to step 3, because this is a fairly significant element of the marketing strategy. So it's important to understand that a market can be subdivided into segments, and that each segment represent customers with similar wants and needs. And they can be profiled by their demographics, so that could be age, gender, education, household type, that sort of thing, and lifestyles, as well as psychographics. It's very complicated, but the idea is that each segment is a set of customers with similar wants and needs. And that given the business limited resources, its time, the people within, or the talent within the company, and the amount of resource it has, it cannot target the entire market. That it generally needs to target one segment, one or two segments, depending on how much money it has. It is not possible for a company to target everyone in the world, right? It's they don't have enough resources for that. So they do need to make some choices about how they're going to position themselves in the market space. And this is where they can then create value, or communicate that value, or capture that value, because of the company's particular, offering, and its ability to do that, as well as its ability to deliver on that value. Okay, because it has certain advantages internally. They may have the kind of technological, uh, tools to deliver on their idea or their product or service. Let's go over an example of what this may be like. So in the entire market of coffee drinkers, there may be instant coffee drinkers, there might be drip coffee drinkers, those who will only drink organic coffee, those who love to hang out in coffee houses, those who want specialty coffee, not just any old coffee, I suppose, and or those who look for whole bean coffee that they then take home and grind themselves and make at home, right? And so as a company, we may have to decide exactly what kind of product and service we will be able to deliver and make profit. So for this example, let's choose a company who's chosen to be a coffee house that will offer specialty coffee drinks. And that will be its target segment. And so they can actually choose, one or two of these kinds of coffee drinkers and collapse them into one, and that will be their choice, but that will be their defined target segment. After identifying a target segment, a company will want to have a position within that segment, because other competitors are going to want to be in there too. Let's say, for example, that this is a specialty coffee house and they want to be different than another coffee house, so that customers will choose them over another. So in this case, they may offer a variety of specialty drinks that are made out of premium coffee beans, and it will be offered in a sophisticated, comfortable atmosphere where they will be greeted and served by friendly baristas, and where there will be free Wi-Fi. Okay, and they may even have other events, say in this coffee house, like art shows or music. And so that's their position within this particular target segment, because they're not going to be the only company trying to make money in this segment, offering these kinds of things to their customers. So they're going to have a positioning statement. In doing so, they're going to have to deliver a set of marketing strategies. And this is really the heart of the marketing strategy. I mean, all of this is part of the marketing strategy, right? You have to plan, you have to choose your market, and then you have to have a set of strategies to capture your market. So this is the heart of it. Now let's talk about the 4 Ps. The 4 Ps are product, price, place, and promotion. For this example, I will talk about a line of Bobbi Brown cosmetics called their lipsticks. So in the product, the things that we consider there is the idea itself. And this is after there has been some market research to figure out, what um, the customer profile would be receptive to. So these are based on their wants and needs. And then there's the idea of idea screening, right? And so in this phase, the marketer would then look into the organization's resources and objectives and assess whether or not the firm can actually produce and market this particular product. In the step, then they will then develop that concept so that they can move forward with testing, and they will do what's called a business analysis. And this is a basic assessment really of the product's kind of fit within the marketplace and its potential profitability. I mean, you don't want to put a product out there that's going to require a lot of the company's resources only to find out that it will not be profitable. Then it will go into product development, and it develops a prototype that will be able to measure its value, its tangible attributes, and as it is perceived by the customer. Then there is test marketing, and in test marketing, there will be a trial launch of the product, and it's going to be in just limited areas of the market to see how it goes. Before we produce everything out there, it's important to see how the product will actually perform in a limited fashion, and then provided that it has survived all these 6 steps and uh, all engines go, then it goes into what's called commercialization. And this is the full introduction of the complete marketing strategy around that product. So it launches pretty much into the market. Then what we have is price. And there are many considerations around price. But generally speaking, the things that we need to consider when it comes to pricing objectives are whether or not we're trying to maximize profits. So then we choose a price that will allow us to do that. Are we trying to boost our market share within the segment that we've chosen? And so we may have 10% of the market and we want to have 15% of the market. Well, that will require a different kind of pricing scheme. Are we trying to maintain our status quo within that market? Are we just trying to, keep what we have, or are we trying to survive? And so pricing strategies will have to consider what our pricing objectives are going to be. Then there is this notion of place, and place can be many, many things, but it's really sometimes known as a distribution strategy, and it has particular considerations around where the product will be distributed. So will it be uh, available in retailers? Will the company do direct marketing, direct selling? Will it make it available to um, wholesalers? And then there's this idea of supply chain management, and that is so that it tries to understand how to improve the distribution of its products through the different ways that it's trying to make it available, whether it's be retailers, uh, through third parties like the retailers and wholesalers and the like. And so there are things like market coverage, whether or not they're going to make this product distributed widely, or is it selective, right? And so these are the kinds of things, or is it exclusive even? And then there's the physical distribution itself, how this is going to actually get in the hands of the customers, whether, so there's transportation consideration, warehousing consideration, and materials handling consideration. The fourth P is that of promotion. And this is typically what most people will think of when they think of marketing. This would be the visible side of marketing. So these are the ads, personal selling, and publicity. So for example, when celebrities endorse products. There's also a distinction between push and pull promotional strategies. So a push strategy is one that is sort of top down. It's when a manufacturer or a company will create incentives for retailers or salespeople to make a product more available to customers. So they may discount the pricing of the products to the retailers, so the retailer would be motivated to sell that product because they could make more money on those products. Or another strategy is that a pull strategy. A pull strategy is more bottom up. It uses promotion to create consumer demand for a product so that consumers will then exert pressure on that company. An example that your book uses is that of T-Mobile. And T-Mobile at the time was the only carrier that did not offer the iPhone to its customers, and because it wasn't compatible with its own technological framework. So Apple, largely sidestepped T-Mobile, and but this created pressure for T-Mobile to get in the game and offer the iPhone because it was losing market share. And so it did that. It went ahead and updated its system so that it could then offer the iPhone. All right, so that's a quick overview of major elements of the marketing concept. Now, mentioned earlier, marketing is a very large topic. And if you wanted to learn more about this function of business, you can take courses like Management 282, which will go dive deeper into the principles of marketing. And then if you wanted to learn more about social media marketing, there are at least two classes that we offer, and that would be Business 134 and Business 135. All right, thank you so much for watching, and I will talk again with you soon.